October 1962. The Cold War is colder than ever. Two superpowers stare each other down, fingers inches from the nuclear trigger. And in the middle of it all, an island in the Caribbean threatens to spark the end of humanity. This is the story of the Cuban Missile Crisis. 13 days when the fate of the world hung by a thread, and one mistake could have erased civilization in a flash of light. It began with a routine spy mission. On October 14, 1962, an American U-2 reconnaissance plane flew over Cuba, and what it photographed changed the world. Hidden among palm trees and sugarcane fields were Soviet nuclear missile sites, capable of striking most of the U.S. in minutes. The missiles weren't just close. They were 90 miles from Florida. President John F. Kennedy was briefed the next morning. His blood ran cold. The Soviets had secretly placed nuclear weapons right on America's doorstep. Why Cuba? Why now? The answer lay thousands of miles away, in Berlin, in Moscow, and deep in the paranoia of the Cold War. Kennedy faced a nightmare. If he did nothing, Soviet missiles in Cuba would shift the balance of power overnight. If he attacked, the Soviets might retaliate, not in Cuba, but in Berlin, and a global nuclear war could follow. In the White House, the secret ex-com council debated day and night. Some generals urged airstrikes, others demanded invasion, but Kennedy chose a third option, a naval blockade, or as he called it, a quarantine. No Soviet ship would be allowed to deliver more missiles to Cuba. It was a gamble, one that risked everything. And as U.S. warships moved into position, the clock to Armageddon began to tick. October 24th. The world held its breath. Soviet ships carrying missiles steamed toward the quarantine line. U.S. destroyers and aircraft carriers waited, weapons ready. One wrong signal, one nervous finger, and World War III would begin. Then, they stopped. At the last minute, several Soviet vessels turned back. Others slowed to a crawl. The blockade held, but the crisis was far from over. The missile sites in Cuba were still under construction, and the Soviets weren't backing down. In Washington and Moscow, secret messages flew. Public threats grew louder. And then, a message from Khrushchev arrived. A deal. Or was it a trap? On October 26th, Khrushchev sent a surprisingly soft letter, offering to remove the missiles if the U.S. promised never to invade Cuba. Kennedy considered it, but the next day, a second message arrived, harsher, demanding that America also remove its missiles from Turkey. Which message was real? Which one did the Kremlin intend? The stakes were life and death. Kennedy made a bold move. He ignored the second letter and replied only to the first. Publicly, he accepted the no invasion offer. Privately, his brother Robert negotiated a secret deal. U.S. Jupiter missiles in Turkey would quietly be removed months later. The question now, would Khrushchev accept or call the bluff? October 27th. Black Saturday. The closest the world has ever come to nuclear war. A U-2 spy plane was shot down over Cuba. Another nearly strayed into Soviet airspace. In the Atlantic, a U.S. destroyer dropped practice depth charges on a Soviet submarine. Unaware, it carried nuclear torpedoes. On board, Soviet officers debated whether to launch. One man, Vasily Arkhipov, said no. His decision may have saved the world. That night, Kennedy sent a final message. Accept the deal or face the consequences. And then, silence. October 28th, 13 days after it began, Khrushchev blinked. He agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba. In return, the U.S. pledged not to invade the island, and quietly its missiles in Turkey disappeared months later. The world exhaled. No cities were vaporized, no bombs fell, but the crisis left scars. A direct hotline was installed between Washington and Moscow. Nuclear treaties followed, and the world never forgot how close it had come to the edge. All because of a gamble and 13 days of fear. The Cuban Missile Crisis is remembered not just as a near disaster, but as proof that reason can prevail over annihilation. It showed how one decision, one calm voice, can pull humanity back from the brink. But this wasn't the last time nuclear terror loomed large. In our next episode, we'll uncover a Soviet system that almost launched Armageddon by accident. Subscribe and join us for Dead Hand, the doomsday machine that could end the world. Thank you for watching, and see ya.